Cordelia admits that sometimes the cordial is a deadly poison, other times the person lives but they're changed. However, Cordelia's opinion on the matter has changed now that it's her own sister who now lays dying, which, well, if it isn't the consequences of your actions. Hello and welcome to Quotation Points Video Snark. If you came here because you thought that this was an audiobook, please stick around and maybe learn some reading and listening comprehension skills. I read books, discuss what went wrong and how they can possibly be fixed. I'm continuing my read-through of The Looking Glass Illusion by Sarah Ella. Not the first video, go check out the others, links are posted below. Chapter 29. Alice is surprised at how little changes about this latest memory. She's still standing in the same corridor, and Maddie is also with her. Alice reassures her friend that she'll get used to it, and they go on. Eventually, they come across Charlotte, who is holding a young Alice in her arm and holding the hand of a young knave. As they follow them, Alice thinks about the boy who disappeared in an earlier trial, only to reappear. The only thing Dan said was real over and over, and nothing else. Alice is now starting to ponder exactly what Dan meant by that. They follow Charlotte to a room where she meets up with Dina. Charlotte says that she's taking the children, but Dina pitches a fit over Knave. She doesn't care about Alice in the slightest because she's normal. She also drops the fact that Knave's father is the former king of Wonderland. Which, I'm sorry, but when you lie with dogs, you don't get to complain that you have fleas. If you sleep with a Wonderlander, you don't get to be embarrassed that your kid ended up as a wonder. Allison thinks of something her mom said in her recording. The difference between being a wonder and being normal is simply choosing to believe. Alice is now of the opinion that Cordelia was a wonder but then chose to no longer be one, which has led to her Wonderland-themed racism. She thinks that maybe Cordelia had her heart broken by the king, but who knows. The memory continues with Dina explaining her evil plan. She says that Cordelia was always her favorite triplet, if only because she was so easily manipulated. Cordelia hooked up quickly enough with the Wonderland king, but then both of them had their hearts broken. Dina was supposed to swoop in and do her mother knows best routine and take over control of Wonderland. However, she hadn't exactly counted on the king handing over control to Charlotte and bouncing. She also hadn't counted on the king and Cordelia having a child together. Dina blames Charlotte and Catherine for creating the false Wonderland that everybody's been dealing with, that one cannot simply crown themselves as the ruler. Wonderland picks the ruler, which is confusing to me because if Dina had gotten control like she'd wanted, wouldn't the exact same thing have happened? This is so stupid. Anyway, Dina then takes a potion and transforms herself into Scarlet. The memory is quick to end after that. Alice randomly decides that Catherine and Charlotte are to blame, rather than what seriously sounds like a deadbeat ruler who had a breakup and then bounced. Do you think that Knave has ever met his father? Does he even know who his dad is? Maddie is obviously shocked by the entire thing, probably because she's now seen how evil Dina is firsthand. She's quick to tell Alice that the domino effects are not to be blamed on Charlotte or Catherine, that any parent would have done the same thing to protect their kid. The two of them come out from their memory and they realize that they aren't alone. Scarlet is there, and it seems as though she's holding a hostage who tells her to run. I'm pretty sure that it's Chess, since I don't know who else Dina would leverage against Alice. If I'm right, then that's Coldman. Your own grandson? Seriously? Chapter 30. When we last left Chess and Stark, Chess had fallen into something. Now we open on Chess and Stark saving Alice and Maddie as the roof collapses. I'm also confused because literally not even a page earlier, Dina had Alice cornered and was threatening her with someone. What is happening? As Alice comes back to herself, we finally get I'm not calling it a suitable explanation, but I think that it's only the one that we're going to get right now. All of this was an illusion to trick them and make them waste time, courtesy of Dina. If she's so dead set on stopping Knave and Alice, I don't know why she simply doesn't murder them. In the trial where people routinely disappear from and are never heard from again, people wouldn't think twice about any of it. I get that the villain cannot simply kill the main characters because that wouldn't make for an interesting story, but if Harry Potter can escape death multiple times, so too can Alice. The four of them are chased by flower guards and end up hiding in a room that smells like, and I quote, fertilizer and blood. None of them want to think what that might mean. Stark and Maddie leave to go find a light switch, which conveniently leaves Chess and Alice to themselves. Chess then confesses about how Stark told him that he'd run off from Kit during the trial last year, which hardly seems like the time to be deep diving into his guilt over the entire thing, but sure, let's talk about this right now. He goes on to say about how Dina and the Minister of Space convinced him that if he got Alice into position, then they'd help him to find Kit. Now, I'm not going to talk about how terrible it was for them to take advantage of Chess's Survivors Guild, but I would like to talk about Dina's motives. Like, she's doing everything within her power to stop Alice from moving forward in the trail, yet at the same time, she's been working to get Alice into this exact spot. Like, why? What's her motivation? She's evil simply because she is, and that's that. I legit don't care about any of this right now. In fact, I think that the only thing I'm looking forward to seeing is finding out how all of the nonsensical memories of Catherine she left behind as clues connect, and Alice discovering that her mom had been chilling in the actual Wonderland this entire time. Dina almost seems irrelevant to the plot at this point. Alice was sad and hurt over the entire thing, as you might imagine. She hates how people around Chess manipulated both of them. She also hates how Chess manipulated her, especially when he abandoned her in normal London, leaving her to figure out how to get to Wonderland on her own. Then finally, the series seems to somehow stumble upon the point that it's been desperately trying to make across a book in 3/4, that there's no difference between wonders and normals. They're all human, and as such share the same sort of flaws. Despite how angry Alice was not even a page earlier, she instantly and immediately forgives him, simply because, in the words of the book, he's normal. They embrace before Alice wonders what's taking Stark and Maddie so long to find the light. When the light comes on, Chess smiles at Alice, but then realizes with horror that it's not Alice but Dina in disguise. What is this lady's issue? Chapter 31. Alice tumbles from the dark room with Chess into what she thinks is another memory. However, things aren't quite adding up and don't make any sense to her. The guard from the card den, Bill, comes over and demands her papers. As Alice looks around, she realizes that she's not in Catherine's body, nor is this a memory of something that would happen when she was younger. She's seemingly now in the real world in the Wonderlander detention facility. Bill takes her to the front desk, but the lady there is like, "You've got to be kidding me. It's Friday night. I'm leaving. Bye." However, Bill isn't deterred and simply hands her over to two of the guards who'd broken into Charlotte's apartment at the start of the series, Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Dee-Dum throws her into her cell and promises to force her to drink the cordial that'll suppress her wonder gene. When she questions how he even knows that she's a wonder, he laughs in her face, says that normals don't react that way upon being told that they're to drink. Allison proceeds to sit around. So much time is spent on this, but I suppose that it could have been worse. Eventually, Cordelia opens the cell and tells her that there isn't much time. They have to get to Charlotte. Alice questions how her absent auntie knows even the tiniest thing about her, including who she is, but then she refocuses her attention on what Cordelia had said about Charlotte. She thinks that her other aunt is dying. Chapter 32. Pretty much all of the named characters except for Alice find themselves standing around as the illusion of the Flower Palace fades around them. Dina/Scarlet stands before them, but it doesn't take long before Chess realizes that it's another hologram. Right as I'm about to question once again why Dina continues with her charade of having dragged Alice to the fourth and final trial, she asks where Alice is, which indicates that it wasn't Dina who seemingly teleported Alice to the Wonderlander holding facility. Dina says that she chose the wrong child. She then starts to go on about her evil plan. However, the Wonder Vision cuts off briefly, which is enough for Chess to indicate to Maddie and Jack to take them off. They're the only two left wearing them at this point. Dina continues on with her evil monologue, seemingly unaware of the brief loss of communication, although I'm positive that the real reason is simply so that the author can drop it down on us when the full truth is revealed to Alice later. She then reveals the reason why she thinks that she's going to get compliance from Chess. Dina and the Minister of Space are holding Kit hostage. The transmission ends before Maddie and Jack can get their bangles off. When our villains and Kit disappear, the others try to convince Chess that maybe it was another trick. He doesn't believe that for a second, but Jack also reassures Chess that Kit is smart and emotionally strong. He probably won't be held for long. Chess then notes Alice's bag, so he goes over to get it. Then he pulls out the almanac and flips to the story about the game of chess. This entire time they've been running over the assumption that this was Scarlet's trial. However, now that they've unmasked her, they're starting to realize differently. Stark points out that if he hadn't been on the train, he would have possibly been hurt. Maddie also points out that Erin was prevented from physical harm when she herself was trapped, which is honestly such a bad take. Stark lost a year of his life, and Erin lost a decade. Between a bit of hurting and losing time, I'd honestly rather have a broken leg. Chess then takes off, going across a bridge and under a waterfall. There they find a train station, which is highly convenient. Even more so is the fact that the train is pulling up as they get to the station. Chapter 33. Cordelia takes Alice to see Charlotte, who is lying in bed and acting like she's dying. The cordial just subdues the gene. I tell her it isn't poison. Alice, sweetie, listen to me. Every single thing that you know about the world has pretty much been a bald-faced lie. Why do you think that the cordial is somehow going to be different? Cordelia admits that sometimes the cordial is a deadly poison. Other times the person lives, but they're changed. However, Cordelia's opinion on the matter has changed now that it's her own sister who now lays dying. Which, well, if it isn't the consequences of your actions. Alice spends a moment mourning the fact that her sister aunt is dying, and there's nothing anybody can do about this. But then Charlotte tells her that she has to go back and finish the trial. However, rather than to actually do this and to finish this miserable story, Alice sits with Charlotte. And I get that this is oh so sad and everything, but come on, this doesn't make for a good story. I legit don't care about Charlotte or Alice or Chess, but hey. However, Charlotte does explain the business with the Minister of Spades being her father, which I guess I will admit I was a little curious about. After Cordelia released her from the facility, Charlotte returned to Wonderland, but she couldn't simply tell Alice who she was, so she went to the minister and randomly convinced him to pretend to be her father, because reasons, I guess. It kind of seems like there's still stuff that Charlotte is hiding from her, but I'm not quite sure that I care, especially after that lackluster explanation. Charlotte goes on to explain that she did go to normal London with both children. However, she later found out that the family house was yet another plot of Dina's. Charlotte once again took the children to the Tower of London, where Knave was stashed away. Again, I am once again begging for literally any sort of explanation behind Dina's actions. I thought that she wanted to be in charge of Wonderland, yet by Dina's own admission, Wonderland itself picks the ruler. Why raise a child? Why not simply do away with the boy? None of this makes sense. I'm going to be angry if the book ends without hearing any motive from her. Alice asks about Knave, but it's Cordelia who replies. She says that she lost her husband and Alice's bio-father in the fire lab. The Wonderland King's name was Lewis, which strikes Alice as really mundane. Catherine was spared, but she disappeared in search of the real Wonderland. Cordelia also says that nobody seems to know what Dina's end goal in all of this is, which, how do you get eyeballs deep into this mess and still not know? Allison remembers that time moves differently in the normal world versus Wonderland. She can't stay there forever, but before she goes, she decides to ask for help in solving the clues her mom left behind. However, Charlotte's response only highlights how freaking stupid Alice is, because the only thing Charlotte cared about was her research, the Wonder Gene, and the biggest riddle she could never solve: why Alice went from being normal to a wonder. This shouldn't be new information to anybody, let alone Alice. So why is she acting like this is the first time she's hearing about it? Ugh. Alice says goodbye to Charlotte. Before Alice goes, Charlotte tries to give Alice a message to pass along to Raven. Unless the author decides to not kill Charlotte, I guess those two really aren't going to be endgame after all. With one final hug, Alice departs back to Wonderland. Thanks for listening to my Book Snarker YouTube. New videos are up every Monday, but stick around because I sometimes drop random videos on other days too. Just as a reminder, even if you can't financially support me, there are other ways to help me out. The first is watching this video as well as all my other videos. It's also important to like and subscribe. Finally, you can share this video with all of your friends so that they can help as well. If you're already caught up with all of my videos, you can go to Tumblr for my main book snarks, always free and updated every morning. Newly added to Patreon is to become a member without paying. You'll get access to the same thing as Tumblr, but on Patreon. Supporters can have access to so many more book snarks starting at $1 a month. Also new is a 1-week free Patreon trial, so be sure to check that out. Special thanks to Dawn, Phoebe, and Nikki for supporting me on Patreon already. If you want to hear your name in my video next week, either support me on Patreon or make a one-time donation. Do you like my snark so much that you want me to snark your writing? I do that too. For just $6 per chapter, I will tell you how awful that your writing is. But not to worry if you feel like you couldn't take the criticism. I also offer regular book editing as well, just $10 per chapter. You can contact me on any of my social media platforms if you have further questions. If you want to read some of the things that I've written, you can purchase my works on Amazon. I have a slew of spicy short stories and 2 full-length novels. I also frequently run flash sales on my stories, so if you don't follow me on any social media, you might want to do so just so you can know when I might be offering things for free. Links for everything will be posted below. See you next week, guys!